Hey everybody, Mike Burkholder, Contra Costa Today. Please do me a favor and like this page. I have a very special guest, Bryan Canty of Dozier-Libbey Medical HS in Antioch. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Mike. How are you?
Doing well. Today we want to share the story that broke, Area newspapers and news media this week, that you had actually saved a life back in December of last year. And for those that have not heard it, can you provide a quick overview of that incident?
So, Mike, basically what I did was I was sitting in class and just so happened to be looking out the window, and I seen my principal, Mr. Burgerhouse, run into the gym, and I jokingly told myself, Burgerhouse never runs, and so something just wasn't sitting right with me, and so I decided to step out of class and figure out what's going on. And in doing so, first and foremost, I made sure that it was safe for myself as a responder to enter the scene, enter the gym, make sure that I kept myself safe at all times. But in doing so, in entering the gym, I seen two students, one in the seated position and one laying on her back. The first student, I did a quick run over of her with my eye, just to determining if she had any life threats or anything like that, which she didn't. And I let staff deal with her. And then I seen Ariah laying on her back. She wasn't moving, and she wasn't responsive at the time. So I entered the gym and immediately took action. I positioned myself at the head of Ariah so that it was just me and her talking, trying to eliminate the noise as best as possible. And I quickly came to realize that she wasn't responsive, and she wasn't awake at the time. So I did a few tests to get her to stimulate, and in order to get her to wake up, I did a trapezius pinch to get her to arise to painful stimuli, which she did not. I did a sternal rub to also get her to try and arise to painful stimuli, which she did not. I immediately started asking some questions to people that were standing around, like what happened, did she fall straight to the ground, was she assisted to the ground, and in doing so I was told that she fell straight to the ground and then attempted to get up a second time and then fell back down, and immediately went into seizure-like convulsions. And so in doing so, I decided to hold manual inline stabilization to help stabilize her head and her neck, because I wasn't sure if there was a spinal cord injury. I had no way of determining that.
And so at this point, were there already paramedics and firefighters responding, or were you not aware of that?
I honestly was not aware of it. When I came on scene and I noticed that she was unresponsive and she was she had been knocked out from the impact of the ground, I immediately told my principal, Mr. Burgerhouse, that we need to call medics, and he was from what I got, that he was already on it. All I really had to do was stabilize her until medics got there.
And at that point, were more and more teachers coming that kind of had the experience, or was it?
No, honestly, it was just me. It was just me. My sports med teacher, Kim O'Leary, had always taught us to, if we were to get a spinal cord injury or anything like that on campus, and she was not on campus, that we had all the right in the world to go grab a spine board, go grab a C-collar and spine board. But unfortunately, I did not think of that. I didn't think of it, and I didn't even have anybody to go grab a spine board, or even somebody that I trusted to hold manual stabilization, while I myself went and got the spine board. So no, it was just me. I didn't have any other teachers that were trained to help me. It was ultimately just me.
And then at that point, did it seem like it was slow motion? Was it?
And the funny thing about this, Mike, is it felt like everything was like paused, and everybody was just moving and like, just moving real slow. And so I was, I kept looking at the clock and looking at my watch, like, okay, we've been down here for about 10 minutes now, and ultimately we were down for about 10 minutes before rescue got on scene. And
what was it like when they finally got there? Her
vital signs and her stability, how stable she was. I seen that all, it completely tanked. She stopped responding to me. She stopped blinking. She had no blink reflex. She was able to move. She was initially able to move her arms and squeeze my hands. Correct. She was downgrading traumatically, and she went from being able to move her arms and squeeze my hands to not saying a word, not having no movement in all four extremities, and it's and not having a blink reflex. And she was pretty much just laying there limp. I didn't know if once medics got there, they put on a 12 lead, and I was able to see that, okay, she has the pulse. She is, her heart is pumping. Sure. She was breathing on her own, but ultimately once medics got on scene, I gave them my rundown, what I found, and
how helpful was that?
There wasn't much of a conversation. Okay. There wasn't much of a conversation between me and the medics. I tend to shout my rundown so that, or not shout, but like elevate my voice so that everybody that's around me can hear it. Sure. So that I don't feel like I wasn't, nobody can say, okay, well, they didn't hear me, or they, things like that.
So they were focused on getting her in the
pretty much, they were pretty much, once I gave my rundown, I told them, we need to get a bird out here. They ran through their assessment and they agreed, yes, we need to get a bird out here. But unfortunately, due to staffing issues, both REACH and the other CALSTAR, due to staffing issues, the ETA was about 35 minutes, so they decided to drive her code 3 by ambulance to Children's Hospital Oakland. Sure. And ultimately, from what I was told, she had 2 seizures in the ambulance, and then she had multiple seizures, probably like 5. She had seizures. Yeah. Throughout the day,
it was like 6 hours.
Right, seizures or whatnot, and it wasn't brought to my knowledge until Wednesday at the board meeting that she was in the ICU for 3 days and then in the hospital for a few more days, and I had no clue. I didn't feel like it was right for me to.
That's part of the job.
Right.
You don't know the outcome a lot of the time.
Right.
And so one thing I wanted to ask you was, what was it like seeing Ariah that first time, after the incident?
It was a very, again, heartwarming feeling. Because for a few days, a few days coming back, she didn't even know that I was the one that saved her. And I didn't say anything because I didn't broadcast it. I didn't widely broadcast it. I knew within myself, okay, I did what I had to do and I saved her life. But once she finally found out that it was me, she was very overjoyed and happy, and as was I. I knew that I did something right. I don't know what it was, but I did something right, and that was, seeing her up, walking, talking, having full movement of all her extremity, all her limbs, was very heartwarming, and I think, again, I thank God that I was able to do something right, and I was able to be there and act quickly, and ultimately save her life.
And then fast forward to the board meeting, I think what got everybody emotional was kind of her mom's comments. Right. I mean, that
right.
All she wants to do is hug you.
Right. Yeah. And Mike, I'm not a big crier, but that kind of, just hearing that brought tears to my eyes, because for her mother to say that, they forever owe a debt to me, I'm not in it for the accolades. I'm not in it for the acknowledgement. I'm in it because it's a passion, and it's because it's because I love what I do. I looked at it as it's a job that I have to do and I have to get it done. But hearing her mom, make the comment of, they forever owe a debt to me, and I basically have been invited into another family, to say the least. And just hearing the comments that her mother made at the board meeting ultimately brought tears to my eyes, because again, that was just a testament of my training and just me ultimately saving another human being's life, regardless of I would have did it for anybody, regardless of my training. I would have jumped in and I would have saved anybody.
Yeah, and I'm gonna throw that link into the description below and the timestamp, because it's just something you got to watch. I can't even describe it, but it was just awesome. Knowing now, kind of seeing what had transpired, and then finding out multiple seizures, she could have been paralyzed, and you had worked to stabilize her. What does that say about your training, and kind of, if you weren't there, she might have not survived, or maybe even just paralyzed.
That goes a lot to, that has a lot to say about my training. My instructors, Gretchen Medale, Kim O'Leary, my bosses Suzanne and Mario, my supervisor, and my partner, Carol Dooley and Naeli Romo. They have helped me tremendously with training, kind of what to look for when we come to head injuries, because we work a lot with football players. We do medic coverage for the local youth football and cheer teams, and so we deal a lot with head injuries, be it a minor concussion or a major concussion. We know what to look for. And they kind of encourage me to look for this, look for that. How do you they question okay, how do you treat this if it comes down to that? And ultimately this event came down to my great instructors and my training.
So what's ironic about it is it happened on a basketball court with the two girls, right, bumping heads.
Right.
You had been doing athletic medicine in terms of ankle injuries, arm injuries, right, knees, whatever it may be, and this incident was from on the basketball court.
Right.
So, doing all of the treatment on that, how did that help you, kind of from a repetitive standpoint of no incident is too small to lead you to help you on the big one type of thing? Or are they all different?
I was always told that no one call is always the same, and so that came, and that day that came true. I made the statement at the board meeting that I work with football players and athletes all the time, and I've never seen something quite like this, not even in a football player. And it can it just, there was no the only repetitive action was, and I love spine boarding. I love spine. It's probably not good, but I can spine board in my sleep.
From helping people.
Right.
Not just you love doing it.
Yeah. No, when it comes to helping people, I just don't randomly go around spine boarding people like, hey, which that'd probably be kind of awkward. But, from a repetitive standpoint, we work so much, and it's so important to recognize the signs of a head injury or a spinal cord injury, and we work so much on that it's hard for it not to be repetitive. It's hard for it we work on it so much that it's like if you forget it, it's because you chose to forget it and you weren't paying attention.
Sure.
And so that's really the only repetitive kind of to that day, that's only the only repetitive thing that was done. You know, and I knew it, like, from, you know, I knew, okay, you know, she hit her head, you know, okay, I'm thinking brain injury.
Sure.
I'm thinking, you know, okay, when I went to go palpate the back of her neck, she was saying she was having neck pain. So I knew, okay, whole manual stabilization. And I was always taught that's, you know, your spinal cord is a rod, and there's a rod from the top of your head to the small of your back, and if that rod moves in any direction, and then, you know, that rod can break. And so I was always taught to don't break the rod, and that's ultimately where it came down. I was like, Bryan, don't break the rod.
Does it make you realize kind of how much work you've put in over the years to take basically classroom theory and apply it in a real life scenario?
Definitely, you know, it's allowed me to think, like, okay, you know, you rarely hear about, you know, people taking what they learn in a classroom and turn it into everyday life. You know, they don't get that. But for this situation, that was the fact. You know, that was, okay, I took what I learned in the classroom and I turned it into something that actually worked. You know, because sometimes people jokingly say, well, we're never going to use this in life. But, you know, for this fact that I'm going to use it in life, I'm going to continue to use this. You know, once I think I'll be well versed and well advanced when it comes down to taking the EMT course. Sure. You know, just because of the hands-on. You know, I learned hands-on. I have to, you know, how to get my hands in there. I have to get my hands dirty in order for me to understand what's going on. And so I think you definitely be well versed and well equipped for life.
And one thing that I thought was really interesting at the school board meeting was your principal, Scott Bergerhouse, basically said a lot of the times we're following the lead of you. And that kind of says a lot just about the training you guys are receiving, but also the amount of work, your work ethic, and your leadership ability that, hey, you've got these adults following your lead. Right. How did that make you feel?
It made me feel really good, because, you know, I was raised, you know, in the correct manner. You know, my father always told me, you know, be a leader and not a follower. You know, do something that somebody's going to do something, you know, do something positive that somebody's going to look back years from now and be like, wow, you know, I could do that too, kind of thing. And you know, so when he made that statement, it made me, it was a heartwarming moment, because I knew that you know, I knew that ultimately not a lot of people are trained in this, you know, so not a lot of people know what to do when it comes to things like this. And you know, it ultimately, like, you know, him saying that, like, again, made me feel really good. And it ultimately came down to me having such great instructors.
Sure.
Me having such great instructors, Kim O'Leary, Gretchen Medell, and, you know, any and everybody else that was involved with, you know, me learning what I learned, and me knowing what I know.
And speaking of the training, we were kind of talking before this interview started about how you are a certified, or I don't even know what the proper terminology is, but you are a first responder certified, which is basically a step below an EMT. Correct. That you could go jump on an ambulance. But you are certified in Alameda and San Joaquin? Correct.
So I am the proper terminology is certified first responder. I'm a certified first responder, and I was able to take a first responder course through Dozier-Libbey.
So now, do you teach CPR at all?
I assisted in my first CPR class January 5th of 2019.
So 2 weeks ago.
Just about, yeah. I'm thinking, yeah. So yeah, January of 2019, I assisted along with my boss, Suzanne, in the CPR class.
And so, what's it been like this last week, now that I guess your story's out, and what's that been like? I mean, I know in the industry people like to tease about buying ice cream. I mean, what's it been like?
That's funny. This past week, it's not something that I'm used to. I was, I just thought it was something that, you know, I'm not in it for to be recognized. I'm in it, I'm just in it because I love what I do. And on Wednesday when I received the recognition from the school board, I just thought that was it. I just was, I was grateful for it.
Sorry about that.
I was grateful for it, and and then when I got hit with, well, how do what do you think about being interviewed by Channel 2 and KPIA 5? I'm like, okay, I guess, I mean, my whole thing was there's a biggest purpose for me in life, and I just wanted to get my story out there and get, and like I was telling the young lady, Ariah, all I'm trying to do is get my story out there. And unfortunately, it came down to, this happened to happen for me to get my story out there. But, on a positive note, I've got my story out there. The fact that I love to help people, and this is my calling. This is honestly my calling. This is my passion.
So let's go back to day one then. Now that you say that, and you stepped on Dozier-Libbey's campus, and you're taking a class on I guess medicine. I'll just call it medicine. Did you ever think it would be your passion, or were you just testing it out?
Oh, never. In talking to my partner, my supervisor, my mother, I say all the time, never in 1,000 years did I ever think I'd be in emergency medicine. I always wanted I knew I wanted to help people. I always wanted to help people. I didn't know in what capacity I wanted to help people, but once I was honestly more so focused on sports. I'm a football player. And then I unfortunately got hurt my freshman year playing football. I ruptured my knee, ruptured my patella tendon, and tore my ACL, my meniscus, and from that day, pretty much from that day forward, I knew that, okay, I have to come up with a plan B, because sports isn't going to always be there for me. So I have to come up with a plan B. And I for a couple of years I thought I was telling myself law enforcement. I want to go with law enforcement. My mother was a correctional officer with the Alameda County Sheriff's Office. And I looked up to my mom tremendously. She worked in law enforcement. I was like, that is, I want to work in law enforcement. I want to help people. And then, I got to Dozier-Libbey, and the start of it was rough. It was a rough start freshman year. It was a rough start freshman year. It was a rough patch sophomore year. And then junior year, it kind of, I kind of realized, like, okay, this might be what I want to do. My junior year, I got into the first responders course at Dozier-Libbey, and emergency medicine is my calling. And
so is it like more of like a challenge for you, or is it more like a challenge for you that, and I'm just going to simplify it, is medicine almost like a puzzle that you like to solve? You like the challenge of it?
Yes, and that and I thank you for simplifying it, because I would have went on forever. It's a huge puzzle that takes a lot of components, but it's something that it's a huge puzzle that I like to solve. Not all the pieces are going to be there. Sometimes you got to go looking for all the pieces, but once you find those pieces, it's like that puzzle's slowly but surely coming together.
You've been now doing this for a few years. Is there any, besides the people that you're working with, is there any mentors that have really provided good advice to you that really just are looking out for you?
My mother is a big role model in my life. She's always told me, chase your dream, and don't let anybody get in the way of you chasing your dream. You know, after my freshman year, after I got injured, you know, I had to sit out another year, so I was down for about 2 years, and you know, just trying to recover, and the recovery process was tedious. You know, there were days where I just was like, I don't even want to go back to football, and you know, I even now I have my doubts about, you know, going back to football, because I've ultimately found my passion. I found my passion in life. You know, yes, it's fun. It's fun. Football is fun. The adrenaline rush that I get is amazing. But, you know, this is my passion. This is my calling.
You can do it forever,
right? And, you know, be it working in the field or even teaching. You know, I could. You know, you can't play football forever. You can't play sports forever. But, you know, helping people, you know, be it
that's
working
just
in the
as contagious.
Exactly. And so, you know, my mother is a very big role model in my life, and just you know, always encouraging me to chase my dream, and to you know, continue to run with what I got. You know, she's always told me that, you know, there is the biggest enemy in life is yourself, because there's times where you doubt yourself and you tell yourself, well, you can't do it. But as long as you can, you know, you find your niche in life, and you know, you find your niche in life and you run with it. And she's always told me that, and she, you know, she's always been a very big encouraging role model in my life, and she's always, you know, she's always told me that, you know, I jokingly say, you know, she says that I had, you know, college is not an option, and I understand, you know, college is not an option. I tell people all the time, you know, you go to college, you get your education, and I jokingly say, you know, public school, and I'm like, hey, you know, let's go get a free education while it's still free. And what people don't understand is that pretty soon it's gonna get expensive. And you know, there's a lot of scholarship opportunities out there, be it, you know, sports, academics. You know, there's people that give scholarships out for standing. You know, so I've always said, you know, as long as I get a degree in something, you know, and I know that as long as I know within myself that I work for that degree, you know, I can get a degree in staring at a wall. You know, sure. But as long as I know within myself that I worked for that degree and I worked for that education, because, you know, people can take any and everything away from. They can take anything from you. They can take your ability to move, your ability to speak, your freedom, anything. The only thing they cannot take away from you is your education
and your effort.
Exactly. And as long as you have a drive and a passion for anything in life, you take it and you run with it. And you know, my mother's told me that for years. You know, she's told me that, you know, she's told me that for years. You take something that you're passionate in and you run with it, and you run with it, and you run with it. You keep running until you fall. And if you fall, you get back up and you keep running.
Do you feel blessed that you found your passion so early? Because I know that there's many people into their 40s and 50s that still have never really even figured out what they wanted to do.
You know, I'm truly blessed that I was able to find my passion so young. And you know, there's not a lot of 19-year-olds that can say that I know what I want from life. You know, there's 19-year-olds that still, you know, especially African American males, you know, that are still like, you know, I want to go to this party, I want to go to that party, I'm gonna hang out on this corner. But it's like, you know, that's fun and all, you know.
You gotta do some spine boards.
Exactly. No, really, you know, I'd rather sit at home all day and perfect my skill and continue to motivate myself than go hang out at some party, or go, you know, that's fun and all. Don't get me wrong, it's fun and all. You know, you still be young while you're still young, but it's gonna come a point where you got to figure something out. You have to, and so I'm truly blessed that I was able to find my passion and my niche in life so young, and I'm gonna continue to run with it. I'm gonna continue to run with it until I fall, and once I fall, I'm gonna get back up and I'm gonna keep running, because you know this is a passion of mine that, you know, as long as I got breath in my body, nobody can take away from me.
Sure. And so what's next for you? I know we were talking before about how being at a desk is like the worst thing that you could see yourself doing.
Right.
What do you foresee yourself next, of what you want to do with this passion, and kind of how you want to help people? What job are you looking at?
So, you know, again, like we were talking, and you know, so I want to go ahead and, you know, get my EMT, and then once I get my EMT, then I'll you know, get my paramedic. I'll get my paramedic, and then go into nursing school, and then go into flight nursing school, and you know that's kind of what's next, and then I give it 10 years.
Sure.
You know, because you know this is a tedious process, but in the long run, it's gonna benefit a lot of people.
And then so what he's not saying is that, because we were talking about this beforehand, is that the one thing that he wants to do is kind of be first on scene.
Right.
He wants to help right away.
Right.
And I think that's just kind of a testament to who you are and how you want to help people.
Correct.
And I think that's very cool. I mean, I see a lot of these firefighters, EMTs, police officers on scene, and a lot of the times they're there, they handle it,
right,
but then they don't know the outcome.
Right.
But you want to just incident, and move on.
Correct. I mean, I would love to know the outcome of every call that we go on, or every call that I work. You know, but there's times where you know, we'll drive up to the hospital and just check on a patient that we sent out, or you know, or my supervisor gave the family a call a few days after, just seeing like, you know, how it is they're doing and things like that, you know. But not everybody that we send out we get you know, we know the outcome, and so it'd be great to know the outcome of everything that we do, but sometimes that's just not the case.
Sure. And so as we close out, what's kind of the best advice you could give anybody that, I mean, obviously you want to see everyone gets, you know, trained in CPR, but what's kind of the best advice you would give people to find their passion and, you know, take action?
I can give a lot of people a lot of advice, but the best advice I could give is, you know, everybody in life has a passion, you know, be it painting, you know, sports, some form of art, anything, producing anything. If that's your passion and that's your niche in life, you take it and you run with it, and you know, you run with it as far as possible. And you know, because any and everything that you're gonna do in life, there's gonna be challenges, but you don't let those challenges discourage you from your dream and from your passion. You know, those challenges are only going to make you better and stronger as a person. So embrace those challenges, acknowledge those challenges, take your passion, take your niche in life and run with it. I mean,
absolutely.
It doesn't get any simpler than that. You take what you got, and you run as far as possible with it.
Bryan, I just want to thank you so much for sharing your story. I know we went a little long here, but I think people need to kind of know who you are, where you're headed. I wish you nothing but the best in your career, whatever it may be. I hope you are a flight nurse at some point. And you know, maybe I'll even get pictures of you out on the scene at some point. But hopefully I'm not out at scenes 10 years from now. But yeah, I just thank you so much for all that you do. And it's so awesome to see your passion shine and help others, and will help others in the future. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mike. Appreciate it. You know, again, I'm not in it for the accolades. I'm not in it for the acknowledgement. I'm just in it for the passion and the drive that I have, and to ultimately get my story out there, that there's many more people like me. I'm not the only one. If there's anything that I can do to help anybody, you know, be it social work, anything like that, I have no problem in doing it. So again, Mike, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for allowing me to get my story out there, and for people to understand that this is a passion of mine, and I will continue to run with this passion for as long as possible. I have a huge motivation. I have a huge motivational team behind me, and so for that, I thank each and every person that's behind me. That's positive support. And again, Mike, I thank you for having me today and allowing me to get my story out there.
Very welcome. Thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, follow. Again, I'm Mike Burkholder. Have a good day. We'll see you next time.